Make sure it turns itself on. Awesome. Hello up there. We're on the air. It's curling night tonight. With all due respect to the late, great Stompin' Tom Collins, curling is the most exciting game you can name. So we have a great game on tap for you tonight. We have Team Basrak from Park City taking on Team LeClair from Coyotes. And joining me in the virtual booth is one of the leaders at Coyotes curling. It is Daryl Horseman. How about you introduce yourself?
Hey Ryan, hey guys. Welcome to the 2021 Men's MoPac Playdowns. The winner of this weekend's tournament is going to represent MoPac at the Nationals. So we wish all the competitors and all the volunteers good luck this weekend, and thanks for participating. It should be a great Basrak and LeClair. The Basrak boys from Utah are going to have their hands full. The LeClair and his rink, they're obviously into the senior men's a few times and the Nationals a few times, so it'll be a good game. Actually, all sheets are going to fare out pretty well today. So we'll keep you updated on sheets A, B, and D throughout the event.
And just to update our scoreboard, LeClair did get the hammer in this first one.
Yes, yep, correct. Yep, correct.
So it looks like Basrak is setting up for a draw.
So I'm not sure how we missed that one shot. I'm not sure how LeClair's first rock ended up back of the house there. But it looks like they're trying to set up the corner guards. Looks like Basrak is trying to get around there.
So we found in the first game that the ice is pretty fast and swingy, which is great.
Yeah, our typical speed here, hog to hog, is about 14 and a half seconds. If you're doing split times, it's going to be the first end. It'll probably be a 380, 375, and then it's going to speed up and get to 410 pretty darn quick. So you'll have to watch that, and the speed does hold up throughout the game. So it's not like it's going to slow down in the 6th or 7th end. Nice hit by Jeff Baird. So it's going to be important for Basrak to really play a tight game. He's going to want to put up his center line guards, go for the steals. Bob's certainly going to put up the corner guards and score 2 every time he can. I was talking to Greg earlier before the rink, and this is before the game. And this is the first time these 4 people are playing together. Yeah, only one person is his regular teammate back in Park City. The other 2, this is their first time. So their plan was to come here and learn. So welcome.
Nothing like a trial by fire.
No, and that's actually that's how most of us get good. You've got to travel, you've got to go to different places, you got to learn, you got to lose a little bit. You win a few times, but as they say, lose the game, but not the lesson.
I know a lot of top level curlers say that they learned a lot more in their losses than they did in their wins, especially in the early years.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Yeah, absolutely true. It's nobody ever sits back and go, "Oh, well, how did we win that game?" But it's certainly a good discussion to figure out how you lost the game. Curling is one of those games that has the hindsight is really 2020. Like, oh, in the second end we should have. So it looks like Greg here may be trying to do the hit and roll, try to get behind that high corner. He's going to want to be a little careful, sort of a golden rule, not to draw behind or get behind an opposition stone, so they can just run it back. But so this can be a little wide.
But it's also surprising just to look at the different tactics at the start of the game, because a lot of, like, at the top level, especially among the men, is that you're trying to figure out the ice, so there's a lot of hits, and then so they're often a blank or there's only a couple of rocks in the house. And like both of the games I've seen today on the feature sheet, they've all come into the house pretty early in the end.
Yeah, and that's, that's a big difference between, let's say, a typical club game and a game that's a little at the higher level. A lot of the arena clubs that we have in the area, it's you have negative ice, you've got maybe a high spot, a low spot, so it's just get the rocks in the house and protect it like for all you can. Whereas if you're on a sheet that has a good curl, 4 to 5 feet either way, then you have the opportunity to set the guards and maybe play a little bit more of a finesse game. The only coming into the house too soon can obviously lead to some really good things and some really bad things, but it's hard to predict. So.
Well, and for Team LeClair, it looks like a really good thing is developing in this end.
Yeah. So Greg's really gonna really want to kind of hit and roll and hide behind that corner guard, or else Bob's gonna be able to come in there and pop him out. So it doesn't look like he's doing a freeze. So hit and roll would be the shot. If he throws it well enough, there is a potential to get a double on that back yellow, but. I'd like to say hi to all of our curling fans tuning in to watch the action from Tempe. If you can, just drop us a note on the YouTube. We'll be watching the chat. Let us know if our volume is okay.
I've definitely gotten more notes about the volume than I've gotten in a while.
Yeah, well, this is Ryan. You've done a fabulous job. So a huge shout out to you. For getting this all set up and making yourself available to do this. It's important for MoPac, it's important for curling, it's important for these athletes to kind of show off what's happening at home. And then, from a coaching perspective, Greg and his team, should they wish, when they get back to Park City, they can watch this again and say, okay, well, hey, here's where we can improve, and maybe next time we go to an event like this, it'll be 20% better.
Yeah. And also just like considering different strategies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know they've tried to hit and roll a couple of times, and unfortunately they've been a bit wide.
Yeah.
And this looks to be shaping up to be a crooked number in favor of LeClair.
Yeah.
Especially as he draws in. It looks like he's going to rest, maybe tap his top shot back. Nope. Just get around that top rock.
Yeah.
What a great draw.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Bob does have the touch. And it'll be interesting to watch the body language of the Basrak range. Fortunately, with Bob going behind the tee line, it does give Greg an opportunity. If he were to fall, at this point you got to pick. You could nose that top yellow and potentially the doubles there, maybe the triple if you're really lucky. But if you were a gambling man, you could try to draw and sit between first and second shot. But I think that's what they're trying. In this particular case, if I was Greg, I would probably look at trying to hit something out. Try to keep them to 2, keep them to 3. You don't want to miss this and be giving up 5 in the first game.
Just with the ice and the weight that he's throwing, do you think that like a quiet tap might suffice, or just to reduce the scoring and make it harder for LeClair to hit him out?
Well, I think Greg must have heard you. That's the shot that he just called. He did the hit and roll. And the only problem with that is obviously now Bob's got a fairly routine, hit and stick for 5. Greg and the team are going to have to, tighten up. At the end of usually the first end is usually the end where everybody's getting used to the ice, you get the jitters out of your stomach, and you try to play a clean game or very not as complicated of a game. So they made it pretty complicated right out of the gate. So we have to maybe tighten it up in a second. Because if they get, they're two the next end, hold them to one, get a two, like it is a 10-end game, so there's lots of time to get back these points.
There's also kind of the temptation, if you give up a correct number, you want to get that correct number right back.
Well, that's where you got to fight the urge, because then you can really kind of put yourself in harm's way. They say they might get a bit of a break with the hit and roll. They do. That's a score of 4 for Bob.
What a really well put together end by Team LeClair.
Yeah, I think Greg's gonna. I think he's probably over talking to Bob now, so you can kind of take it easy on us. But again, if you are the lower ranked team on the sheet, and you're gonna play obviously a higher ranked team, the lessons you're going to learn in the next 2 hours if you're Greg's team is phenomenal, and it's really important that you keep that attitude. And then of course Bobby, he's salted of the earth guy, so he'll certainly give Greg and his team any sort of pointers.
Well, I'm going to take a quick second, and we'll be right back. Just as they are about ready to get started with the second end at the second draw of the 2022 men's club playdowns at Coyotes Curling. We are back here early in the second end at the for the second draw, and there are rocks in play by LeClair. Looks like he's got a rock right on the button and one just behind.
Yeah. Typically, what they want to do there is put one right in the house and have one as a three guard. Probably did that because the lead for Basrak was just a little heavy. Looks like Greg's trying to will it to stop. So it's in the house. Yeah, it's important. Obviously, with the 5 rock rule, it's important to make use of that. try to put them a little farther out. So it looks like Bob's going to try to do the hit roll. Jeff Baird's up to hit.
And also the free guard zone, it helps the top level teams, but I think it also helps the less experienced teams that may not be capable of fighting a hit game.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're coming from an arena to a dedicated situation, you don't have the ability or the time to practice upweight hits on arena ice. So certainly using that free guard zone or 5 rock rule is huge. Statistically, you can't score more than 2 without a guard. So that's one of those truisms of the game. And for those interested in what's happening on the other sheets, we have a quick update. Fleming took 1 over Raju on sheet A. Mendoza took 1 over Tate on sheet B. And then on sheet D, Spangler took 3 over Siggins in the first. We got a little lucky there. So at this point here, with enough rocks being, what happened there? They're moving it back. Did they throw the rock out of?
They threw the wrong color.
Wrong color? Okay.
Yeah. But that's also one of the nice things about curling is that it's a game of good sportsmanship. So if they just happen to throw the wrong color,
right,
it's no harm, no foul. We'll just switch the rocks out.
Right. Yeah. We've all done it for sure. Yeah, we've all done it for sure.
So what do you think LeClair's doing here?
Well, if I was Bob, I would be hitting that red and just rolling toward the center. He doesn't need to, obviously, with a bit of the buffer that he's got from the first end, but of course LeClair is going to want to, any red in play is not a friend of yellow. So, and it just puts a little bit more pressure on Greg's team. Greg's going to have to, typically in this situation, freeze. Ooh, little lucky there, either over curled or maybe Jeff was maybe just a little inside, but so Greg's calling for the guard. Now he would better serve if that, like he's calling for top 8, top 8 right there, but it would be better if that was just touching the 12 or out of the house event.
Yeah.
Because if he puts it too close, good hitting team like LeClair is just going to run back those, get the double, and then leave the red rock counting.
Well, also, what do you think about making a play on the yellow that was in the back of the house, just to get rid of that and also start working to split the house and hopefully generate a deuce that way?
Well, it's tough. Remember, you need that guard. So if you let's say Greg's team, like that's actually a really great shot. There should be enough curl where Bob can get at it, but that's exactly what they need right now. Had they hit the yellow at the back 8 on the right, you're leaving Bob or Fred I don't want to say a routine double, but there's a double there, and then you've got nothing to play.
Just like a crosshouse double.
Yep, crosshouse double.
It's the usual crosshouse double.
Yeah, that's what we do on Thursdays. Yeah. So Fred's looks like this week we're calling it for trying to over curl.
They're going really hard.
So it's going to over curl just a bit. Again, that's not a bad miss. That's sort of the plan A, plan B. Plan A was to get around, chip the red out. If they move the guard, that's not a problem. So what Greg should be doing is replacing that right now.
It looks like he is. It looks like he also wants a little less ice, so it's the rock is a little bit more covered than the last guy.
Yes, yeah. It was probably as far left as they would want it to go. And it's an interesting thing here. We just see that delivery on dedicated ice. It's so important to have the right amount of handle, the rotation of the rock. On a lot of arena clubs, a lot of curlers have maybe 1.5 to 2.5 full rotations. On ice like this, you want it to be upwards of 3 to 4.
And the thing that's also kind of fascinating is that the number of rotations is super important. And when you're starting out, like some people, we try not to tell people like don't spin it like a top. You just want it to rotate. a moderate amount, I guess.
Right.
And so like sometimes we underplay it, especially at arena ice.
True.
Top level Bruce Ballard of Scotland, his team, they all rotate a lot more.
Oh, yeah, it's all four.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can actually use the amount of curl or spin on the rock to your advantage. Once you get that level, where let's say you're always throwing it with 3.5 to 4 rotations, if you're at a club that has, maybe not as much curl as you're used to, then you can lessen the amount of spin and use it as a tool. Or if you're playing a club that's got a ridiculous amount of curl, then you throw with a little bit more up rotation to counteract the curl. So it's a good trick to have in your bag, but certainly going for anywhere from 3 to 4 rotations is what you should be trying. Even on the weeknights. Here we go. Here it's been not a bad shot. Again, we want to see some daylight. Because Greg's got to protect that one on the back 12 so that his last shot he could hit that yellow that's exposed on his deuce. So.
Well, and here we are at Skip Course already.
Yeah, there won't be any delay. What do they have, 38 minutes playing time?
Thinking time, yes. 38 minutes of thinking time. Each team gets 1 timeout per game unless it goes to an extra end. And the time is 90 seconds because there are fifths, and we allow extra time for that fifth to get on the ice.
Oh, right.
To render his advice.
in the olden days, when we had the coach of the fifth, we would put him or her in the farthest spot we could find, sometimes back in the hotel room. And then when he called for that player, it would take an extra 3.5 minutes to walk to the ice, and he would use that. Now the WCF and Girl Canada and USA could figure that out, and the time's the time. If you have that fifth or that coach not handy well, so
well, and the other thing that was fascinating, I've been to Men's Worlds in Vegas when I was there in 2018.
Yep.
And the coaches are way up. They're not in the stands. They have benches, but they're like second or third tier benches and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the throwback to that old way of doing things. You try to buy the team a little bit extra time, and you got to get from the tops. You got to put down your beer, your coffee. You got to walk down the flights of stairs. It takes all that time to get there.
Walk around all the scoreboards.
Right.
Looks like with Basrak's first, I wonder if they're going to try and draw. I don't think they're set up to hit unless Basrak can throw up weight, like a bullet.
Well, even if we were to hit and roll over, that would be an important hit. The one that's on the top 12 on Greg's right, and then roll over.
Looks a little heavy.
Well, looks like it's not light. That's for sure. Yeah.
It's gonna go through.
It's an unfortunate miss. I wonder if he was just trying to draw.
It looked like it. Also, just based on where the vice had the broom, and the traditional broom placement, and this is something that new skips have to learn pretty quickly, is that if you're doing a draw or a guard, you use the T line as your reference line, just so that all the angles are consistent to the T line.
Yep.
But then if you wanted to do a takeout, you want it to be relative to where you want to hit.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good way of thinking about it. On our ice, when I'm out there playing, I actually use all of. I don't just use the T line, but I'll use maybe the lodge, the Sasquatch head, or I'll use maybe the middle of the red segment on the left. Like all of those points can be used to your advantage.
Well, and the other thing that also comes to mind is that just like reference points and following where you think the stone is going to end up, that's another thing that new skips need to learn or to develop, is just to follow the rock down the ice and estimating where it's going to be and encouraging the sweepers to get there, or looking for a plan B if it's not going to get where you think it's going to go.
Yes. Yeah, there's so many times you'll see a player throw the rock, get up, immediately turn around and start walking back to the hack. Most new players and players that are really studying the game should be watching their rod, seeing where it ended up, and learning from that. Like curling is such a immediate feedback sport that you can learn a lot if you're looking at it. Yeah. So,
and just looking at the situation here, this is the last rock of the end.
yep.
I don't understand why Gomez has the broom up there, because unless they're trying to do a double, unless they're trying to get back in this game, shooting against 3 is a very tricky proposition.
Yes, it is indeed. It is indeed. So yeah. Hopefully Gray gets a bit of a roll here, because if he hits that right on the nose and nuts it, I don't think he's going to be shot wrong. So he's going to want to hit it. Oh, it's over curling. You have to sweep for line.
It's gone.
It just doesn't have the weight. That's unfortunate. That's another steal of 3. Another steal of 3.
Unfortunately, I think that as they're still trying to get a good read on the ice.
Yeah. There's depending on what format your tournament is at, there's that time you have to practice is so critical. Typically you want to throw a couple of hits, upweight shots to see that it only curls 6 to 8 inches. You want to throw a couple of draws just to see if it curls 4 to 5 feet. Then at least you have a baseline. At least you have a baseline. So,
and also looking for the curl outside in and inside out.
Right.
And a lot of times people don't necessarily do the inside out. That's almost a second, like a afterthought.
Exactly right. Yeah, everybody's so worried about the LSD and the draw that they just draw it to the pin. But to your point, yeah, Ryan, you got to know, going, to the 4 foot out to the wings, what does it do? Yeah. So I think Greg got beat a couple times there on maybe weight and line, but.
And then just when they were facing 3, I would think that the safety shot would have been to draw to the 4 foot, because he had looked open on that right side.
Yeah, for sure. He could have drew, and then worst case scenario, if he would have hit on one of those top 2 rocks in the 8 foot, he would have at least outcounted that back 12 foot rock. So it would have been. Yeah, sometimes if you go with a hit, it's all or nothing. And this year, with Bob going into the house, he's invited Greg to hit him. Greg, being the wily skip, is going to say, nope, I need guards up front. So he's going to have to. And this year's, it's going to be a little tight. On sheet C, I want to say there's a little bit more curl, a little bit more rotation on the release there, which is going to bode well. Sweeping early.
There's just a little light. It's going to be a middle guard.
Yeah.
Almost
Looks like
it's a high guard.
Yeah, it's a high guard.
If it gets over.
Well, it just crossed over. Okay, and then of course if it's too high, it's almost like it's not there on ice that's got some pretty good curl. But at least it's a guard. So, and I guess the upside is that the lead doesn't have to buy the first round. So I guess that's the benefit. So you'll see, like you see Bob here. Bob's on the edge of the 8 foot trying to do a sideline guard. So hopefully Greg's watching that.
And that's the other thing is watch everyone's stones. I know like a new team starting out, they watch their own stones, but they're not necessarily watching the opponent's stones.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot going on a sheet. Yeah, the front end should be talking. If you don't have the hammer. So here in this situation here, Greg could come around and put one on the tee line, or he could, since both those yellows are in the house, could hit and roll behind. But I think with their hitting ability right now, probably the draw is the safer play. So he's taking plenty of ice. I don't think we've seen a shot this wide yet this game, so we'll see what this does.
It's a great smooth this broom where he thinks it's it's really over curling. The other thing is that also could be down to the release. One thing as I get more experience in curling is I come out on the line, or at least I think I'm on the line, and then it's like I do my release and think, why did it go right all of a sudden?
Yeah. There's a when it comes to release, it has to be so purposeful. Whenever I'm doing my coaching, it usually takes 4 seconds to go from the back line to the hog line. And you throw how many rocks in a game?
16.
16.
Or 20 in this case with the 10 in game.
Sure, so 20 rocks, and it takes you 4 seconds to throw each of those rocks. So what's 4 seconds times 20?
80 seconds.
80 seconds. So for a minute 20 in a 2-hour game is all you have physical control of that rock. So for a minute 20, that's the time you shouldn't be worrying about, where's my Amazon gift? I should have got gas for the car. You need to be focused on that delivery. Everything's going to be very specific, very deliberate, and then you can, chat with the other athletes out there for the next hour and a half. But yeah, so we just need your attention for a minute 20.
Well, the other thing is it's so important to have the fundamentals in mind while you're doing your delivery, but you also can't be so regimental that you're not relaxed and loose. You have to be in this right mental state to execute the shot successfully.
Great point. Yeah, great point. And that's what comes from repetition, getting out there practicing, getting out there playing in the leagues, getting out there and going to bonspiels and feeling how it feels. To have the butterflies and the nerves come up. Adrenaline. You can read all the books you want, but the only way to work on adrenaline specifically is you got to be in these situations, play the tough shots, and work through it. But certainly getting the reps in helps ease that. And it's like anything. Think about the first time you drove a car, the first time you asked out somebody that you wanted to go on a date with. You're nervous, and then the second, third, fourth, fifth time you got a little bit easier. So same thing with Kirk.
That was a pretty nice takeout.
It was, and so it's funny now how that that guard that got chipped over is now causing a bit of problems. If I was Greg, I would almost be playing a tick, getting rid of that guard that's on the center line, because that's really helping yellow right now. Or leave it in play and try to freeze up to that rock that's on the shot rock that's on the button.
I mean, there's a lot. Also, the way the rocks that LeClair has set up, they're blocking that path to the shot rock. Although it does look like the tick was successful.
Yeah, Butler says he wasn't excited about that shot when he threw it. He kind of was disappointed, but that's actually a really good miss, we would call that. So that's going to force Bob to put out a guard. And when the team's putting out guards, that means you're not scoring more points.
The other thing that also, talking about not being convinced about a shot, you just you also need to believe in the shot, because if you don't believe in the shot, or where the skip puts the broom, you're not going to get it. I mean,
I had one shot the other night in our championship league where we put down the broom where I thought the ice was supposed to be. I got into the hack. I looked at him like, that's not right. And then, of course, did I make the shot? Nope, I sure did not. So, yeah, you're absolutely right.
So it looks like LeClair did not put a guard back up. It looks like he went back he went actually to draw toward the forefoot.
Yeah. So, Bobby's, really trying to apply the pressure, trying to put the screws to Greg and the Steve. And so Greg's trying to, call for a takeout. The only problem, the way those rocks are positioned, staggered as they are, even if the player, throws a pretty good stone and hits it, it's going to roll out. Mm-hmm. And you're only going to, typically get one in this scenario.
The angles are not lined up. If you wanted to try to do the double, it would have to be on the left side, but that top yellow and the 12-foot was blocking the path. But right now, that's not an issue right now.
Not an issue. So yeah. So now the angle is certainly better to get a double out those rocks. And again, when you're down 7-0 after 2, you don't want the skipper to be throwing, the high hard ones. Because at that point, you're going to maybe get 1 point, but really need to get multiple. So, very nice. He's throwing probably just a nice. Knowing Bobby probably wants just something biting the top 12, just to put a little extra pressure.
Wait, looks to be pretty close. They're going for it. Another off. Looks like it's going to maybe bite.
Just nibble, yep. Yeah, so now, Greg's got a decision. He's hitting or drawing against 5. And there is that, I don't know if you saw, there's that port between shot, 3 and 5 to Greg's left.
He's throwing heat again.
Yeah, he's throwing heat in it, and it's, that's what the third is. That's what the third's job is, to sort of help bail you out, so.
Well, it looks like they got 1 and they got 2, so that's definitely improves the situation.
Yes, and it does leave them, obviously between the hog line and the house, it's broken up into zones. For those who maybe don't know, it's broken up into zones 1, 2, and 3 and thirds. The top 12 is zone 4, top 8 is 5, 6 is top 4. But I guess what I'm trying to get to here is that rock that's now in zone 3, just outside of the house on the center line, that's called the control zone. And that's actually good. While you don't want to have a rock there, specifically if you've got the hammer, the fact that it's in the control zone and Greg and his team can use it to maybe promote up and maybe split or run it back is a good thing. Let's see what Bob is here. Looks like Bob with the ice he's taking. Looks like he's trying to draw in and around through that port where Fred's got the boom.
So these gentlemen played seniors?
Yeah.
Looks like it's going to just chip off the red at the top.
That overcurled a little bit, so Greg is probably going to look at playing the Vietnam. Motion. I don't know if I was Greg, I don't know if I would hit that center, that guard that they're talking about left of the center line just yet. Right, they've got to get a rock in play.
I also just depending on how risky you want to get. I mean, if you hit the red rock on the left side to push the yellow, maybe with enough to push the yellow out, and then roll that towards the left, that could really help set something up.
That would be really good. Yeah, the increase in difficulty obviously is there. I think so. It looks like Greg's actually calling the right amount of ice for this sheet if he's got the weight right. The upside here, Ryan, is that if he's down weight again, he just waved him on to get some more ice. But if it overcurls and hits on the left side, you might get that shot you were talking about. So it's good to have options when you throw. Looks like he's a little tight on the release. Oh, flicked it out. Might have to try to over. So that's not bad. There was 3 yellows in the house. Now there's only 2. And if they try to double that out, there's the jam situation. So it's going to force Bob to do something defensively here.
The guard would probably be the easiest, but if I was being super devious, but also if you needed a point, like drawing around, would be
right. Yeah, that's certainly an option. I think they've got enough in the bank. They don't need to be too greedy. Plus, you're sitting with 2 in the house. Now, if you're Greg, you have to be maybe licking your chops a little bit because there is that double on the shot 1 and shot 2 rock of the yellow with the potential of leaving your shooter just biting and maybe getting a 3. Like Merry Christmas, Greg. But let's just see what happens here. Maybe getting ahead of myself just a little bit.
Here is LeClair's last. Definitely going for the guard. Yeah,
and even if it's a little heavy, changes the angles up a little bit, that's still okay.
Well, and he has some buffer space because those red rocks are at the top of the 12-foot, and his second yellow shot is full 12-foot, just a bit closer. But that looks almost like what he dialed out.
Yep. So now that looking from this angle here, it looks like that double's not there because you lose your shooter. So he's going to have to try to promote that rock that's on the far right. So he shot 3. anything like that.
The angle's tough too.
It is tough. It's there. All you got to do is hit half of it. And I don't know, I can't tell from this angle if that other red rock will interfere with the trajectory of the struck stone. Like it might just click it, you know, and maybe push it. It'll be really weight sensitive here. So, but this is a good chance for Greg to get on the scoreboard here and take one.
And sometimes you have to just like set like a lot of achieving long-term goals. You need to set smaller, short-term goals that can lead to the longer-term objectives.
Absolutely, yeah. They always say the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because in this situation, you know, there's certain games where it's like, are we going to win this game? And it's like probably not. So what can you get out of these games?
This game is a little.
Oh no.
That's unfortunate. Just didn't take enough ice again.
So that's another 3 for LeClair.
Yeah.
And if this was a club game, there's a point where like the vice skips are very slow to put the score on the scoreboard, and we might be close to that point.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's run on the other sheet.
Yeah, let's go have a look here. Let's have a look. Looks like Fleming took another one in the second end. We're down to skip stones. Sheet B. Got a lot of rocks in play. Yellow's got a yellow shot counting. Mendoza did take another point in the second end. This is a potential for 2 for Tate. And on sheet C, looks like Siggins took 2 in the second end. It looks like Spangler is doing a long run back, maybe to address two red counters for Siggins. Oh, sorry, sheet D. Yeah, so lots of rocks in play in all other sheets.
So LeClair went deep with his first rock, which is not the end of the world, given where they're at in the score.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, you know, and to your point earlier, you know, Greg's end plan, because there's an end plan and a game plan, maybe just to have, throw 2 good guards could be sort of that catalyst that gets going, and then maybe, you know, do one good hit and roll. It doesn't have to be a win, but it could just be just the little things that could add up.
Or also working to make sure your rocks are in play or playable. It looks like they've done a fairly decent job in this game, but I know when I'm on arena ice, that sometimes I'm like, oh, I want a guard, and it slips through the house. Right. And it's like, that's not useful.
Right. Well, in this particular case, you know, that would have been great to be a guard, but it was a little hot. Ended up on the tee line. Looks like we can just hit and roll out here.
So with this ice, when we're on arena ice, and I think like it's a lot of facilities, sometimes it takes a little while for the ice to get up to speed. And do you see that here at Coyotes?
No. Typically our ice, yeah, it'll start at 14-second hog to hog, and then get up to, you know, the other night we had draw times of 14-8, almost 15 seconds. So on a weekend like this, with, you know, they go out there obviously with the Ice King, prep it, they do a couple of rounds of pebble, and then they drag the rocks, which speeds it up and gets it almost like it's the third end, fourth end speed right out the gate. So here is a nice guard, fantastic, great shot.
Yeah.
Still can't hit it out, so the trick is obviously to remember that speed the next end. Because this first one, and this is twice now he's done that, right? The first one's a little heavy, second one is a lot better. So I mean, it could be just matching rocks. Maybe the second rock's just a little bit of a digger.
Looks like this might actually tick off of the guard and actually gets it into the house.
So at this point, Greg should be splitting the house and putting one on the right side somewhere. Yeah, good call, Greg. Very good. Read my mind.
So have you been to a lot of competitions?
Yeah. Started curling in Canada. Came up through the junior program. Played a lot at the provincial level down there. My folks always moved there with a CP rail, so we could never I'd get onto a team and we do really well, and then I'd have to move. And then the new town I live in, I get on a curling rink and we do really well, and I got to move. So, and then when we came down here, we started the club in 2003. I've been to 4 or 5 Playdowns, and then the Nationals. And then once we got into this place, a lot of the newer curlers kind of came up and took over that. So, yeah, it's been a lot of years on the trail, and here's the LeClair team, myself, Sigmund's. There's a few teams that we actually play on the World Curling Tour. Because you've got to go out there seeking the people who are better than you, so that you yourself get better. If we just stayed here and played against ourselves, there's going to be a finite point to which we can all grow. So it's important that we all go out and try to find teams and events that force us to grow. So then we go on the road a lot. We lose enough. But we also come back with a lot of lessons.
Well, then also you bring the World Curling Tour to Coyotes as well.
Yeah, every January we do the Ed Warnick Golden Wrench Classic, and that's a fantastic event. In the last few years we've done it. We've always attracted the top 20 teams on the stats list. Obviously, Schuster and those boys who come down there all the time, Mike McEwen, Johnny Moe, and all the guys, and it's an easy place to sell curling in January, in Phoenix versus Dawson Creek where it's minus 50 and you got to plug your car in, the snow's up to your nose, so it's easy. And a lot of the guys on tour bring their girlfriends or respective others, and they have a bit of a vacation while they're down here, so it's a fun time. This year we canceled it because of the COVID restrictions, and getting in and out of either Canada or the U.S. is difficult. With it being an Olympic year, everybody was really playing down and just spending their money and time focusing on the Olympic trials. So, yeah. Well, now that that's over, we could have probably, did a late entry for the, because now there's a lot more teams that don't have anything to do right now. So.
Well, also, Curling Canada just canceled the Continental Cup just this week.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, because of the issue of travel from Europe.
Yeah, wow, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but, curling is supposed to be primarily a fun sport, especially for most levels of play. For the upper levels, it's like, yes, I want gold. It's die-hard competition.
Yeah.
And some people probably feel that as part of the game, but for most people, it's camaraderie and having an enjoyable time.
Yeah, well, talking to a lot of the tour players at the Continental Cup, and it's a small world, as you know, so a lot of us are friends on and off the ice. The Continental Cup is probably the best event for a top level curler just to have some fun, and it's almost like a high level bonspiel.
Yeah.
Whereas if when they're on tour and they're playing in Morris or they're playing in Toronto somewhere, there's $10,000 on the line, and it's all business. They're going to bed early. They're not staying at the slots or the blackjack table till 3 a.m. So it's a good time for them to kind of blow off some steam. So it'll be interesting to see, in Nevada, with the men's worlds coming there in April of next year. Hopefully we're far past the COVID or any kind of variant, I suppose, and that can still happen. That's a great event for especially a lot of the MoPac curlers. Go see some top-level talent without going to the Olympics.
And also, I volunteered at the last Continental Cup that was in Vegas. They look for volunteers, and there's a bit of a payment because you have to pay for the t-shirts, for the polo shirts and stuff. It's $100, but just to have another type of connection to the event. You do have some interaction with the curlers, but you do have to maintain a certain amount of professionalism.
Right.
You can't go gaga over Jen Jones or anything like that.
Okay, again, fanboy or fangirl on them. Yeah. No, I've volunteered there, I guess, 3 times myself, and it's a good event, and certainly the volunteers, whether it's the Continental Cup or the Olympics or a tour event or even MoPac Playdowns, the volunteers make a huge. They can I think make or break an event. You have to have passionate people behind the glass to help the guys and gals on the ice.
And definitely a lot of credit to the volunteers that are here at this event, helping to keep score, helping to make sure that the ice is competition caliber.
It takes a village, absolutely. Absolutely.
So here we are at Skipstones again, all so soon.
It's always interesting to watch, 2 teams that kind of know what they're doing. Curling's a lot like, you've heard of chess on ice. And the first, probably 3 or 4 stones are predetermined. This is what I'm going to do, so here's my rock placement, and okay, I know what you're going to do, so here's what I'm going to do to counter that. So really the first, 4, 5, almost even 6 rocks can go pretty darn fast. And whenever you're playing, even on a league night, you want to try to make sure you go fast enough so that when the rocks, when you get down to your skip stones and maybe you got a few rocks in place, you've got an extra minute and a half. That really makes a big difference, especially over the length of an end. If you can save, 5, 6 seconds here or there, and then at the end of the game, you've got, let's say 9 minutes left, and you've got a real tough, situation to navigate. You're lucky to tank that time.
Just also in terms of strategy, it's always important to think ahead in curling because you talk about having kind of moves thought out in your head, and like some of the play can be pretty straightforward. It's like I hit you out, then you're going to hit me out. Maybe trying to roll to the center or roll under a guard, what have you. But there's a situation. Sorry, I got a message. There are situations though where it's like you wait too long to say like how do I get out of this? Like knowing when to change your tactics to get out of an end.
Yes.
Or to say that this is how we're going to capitalize on a mistake.
Yes. There's a couple golden rules, and depending on who your coach is, and this really kind of varies team to team, but you typically it's called when to bail. And so you bail typically at the second stone. Some teams, if they're gutsy and they're curling, 80-90%, they sometimes will bail at the first stone. But in a lot of club environments, that's usually 1 or 2 stones too late.
Well, when I do arena league night, I usually like either a second or third. It's like if there's a big mess out front, it's like okay, but we should try maybe throwing takeout weight at it once or twice, and then say, okay, that didn't work. Then we'll try the draw because we know that the draws are perhaps more in our wheelhouse than the takeout.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I God bless junior curlers because the youth of the game is important. But juniors want to hit themselves out of any problem.
Yeah.
And it's curling's a finesse game. Let's just say that's a beautiful, nice draw. There's enough room there. Greg should be following him down, maybe with just a backline weight, tap it back, score 1. Whereas the juniors would be thinking about doing maybe a high slash, the run.
And also, those are the shots that are celebrated by the sport. You have the Hackner double.
Right.
You have the Jen Jones, like that impossible shot that she had like 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. A quiet, a quiet draw, to tap this yellow back 6 inches isn't going to make the highlight reel. It should for Greg tonight, but it won't be on the ESPN.
Yeah. The other thing is also, I think the mixed doubles, I think maybe kind of forces a change of mindset because there's a lot of draws, there's a lot of working around the guards, and trying to adjust the angle. So if you do try and throw up weight, you have certain strategies in mind. So it's not like you're just trying to blast and see if you might hit the side of the bar.
Right, absolutely. Look at Greg here making a beautiful draw around. I think Greg, Fred's going to give it to him. And then that goes back to your comment about sportsmanship. Oh, looks like Jeff took a broom to the nose. Hopefully he'll be okay. Well, while they reset, let me go get some scores from around the sheets. So around the league, is today Thursday?
Today is Thursday.
Oh my goodness, okay, I apologize there. So yeah, let's see what we got here. So Fleming is up 3-0, 3-0 over Raju on sheet A. Mendoza and Tate are tied at 2. Looks like we've got a score going up. Looks like it's Mendoza just stole. Yeah, from the body language on the sheet, it looks like Sean is saying that it overcurled or maybe it picked. It's a steal, so it's 3-2 for Mendoza. And on Siggins, it is 5-3. They're playing pretty quick. That's out of their almost in the 6th end, so they're flying along on sheet B.
They're already past their 5th end break.
Flying along.
So just as you ran through the teams, there are 8 teams in the field. They represent a fairly wide breadth of experience and regions within the Mountain Pacific Curling Association. Although that said, half of them are from Coyotes.
Well, I guess that's sort of the benefit of when you're the host. I suppose I think if we had this in Hollywood or if we had it up in Utah, I'm sure we'd see the same.
The thing that's also fascinating is that let me pose this to you 2 different ways.
Okay.
I mean, Hollywood is affiliated with the Southern California Curling Center, and there's a lot of hopes that having dedicated ice in Southern California will really help jumpstart curling in that part of the region. And so the question to you is that when you guys got the dedicated ice installed here in Coyotes, what sort of impact did that have on the club and also helping to grow the sport within the Phoenix area?
Well, gosh, that's a great question, Ryan. Well, obviously, we're still the only club that's in the desert. We're the only club in the Southwest. So talk about a niche sport. Curling, when it's 120 Fahrenheit, is an easy game to sell come June in Phoenix. So. We've brought a lot of Arizonans. We've taught them how to curl. It's been a good time, and of course, being where we're at, much like LA or the Southern California Curling Center, they're a destination place as well. So people will come in there from all over the world, and now they have a curling facility. I think when we became dedicated not only did we...
This is a relatively nice shot. It was a little heavy.
That's a great shot. Yeah, great shot. It does leave Bob the opportunity to kind of hit and roll, either left or right. Obviously, you want to roll behind the right guard, but yeah, that's a good shot by the Utah boys for sure. But I think once we've got dedicated ice, we hosted a lot of teams from Idaho, Utah, California, New Mexico. Some people came over from there. So having a dedicated facility where you didn't have to go to Oregon or Seattle, or you didn't have to fly to Wisconsin, just makes it just more accessible. Like in our area here in MoPac, we're an hour and a half, 2 hours at most, and you can get to dedicated ice now between I guess soon to be San Francisco, us and LA. It's not a bad little trifecta. If we could have something up in Utah at some point, or Idaho area, to kind of make a nice little 4-quadrant, so anybody can get anywhere. Really, obviously, I'd like to see some big things happen out of Nevada, because they're really close to LA, and they're to California, and then you got Tahoe, of course.
Yeah.
So there's I think having dedicated ice certainly for sure helps the population that are within 30 to 50 miles. But I think as a region, it really helps having that accessibility.
Oh, and also I'll add that you guys are how far away from the airport?
Oh, it's heavy traffic, probably 3.5 minutes. And then the hotel, we got a whole slew of hotels that are just down the way too, so that's a good 8-minute drive to Hilton or something. So it's really unbearable.
Just in terms of accessibility, this is pretty. I would say probably the most accessible club, at least in the Western United States.
Yes, yeah. I'd almost say in the world, but yeah, we were very fortunate, and I think this club used to be, for those who don't know, used to be a factory that made the green fuzz that goes on the tennis balls pen. So this used to be a factory. We repurposed it after we moved from the ice den. So yeah, it's been a good home to us, and every year we still sort of put do a little capital improvements. Do the floor, just got some new couches and stuff. But since we've started, and I think this is the same for Eliza and Matt in Southern Cal, the star of the show has to be the ice. One of our curlers, Eric Wall, kind of says it perfectly. You never go to a golf course and say, "Wow, what a great clubhouse." But if the greens aren't good, that's what you're going to tell your friends, right? So we sort of took that adage of saying, okay, the ice has to be great. We don't have the best chairs, but they do the job.
Well, I didn't realize you had new couches, I guess we call it, because last time I was here for the 5 and Under in 2019.
Oh, sure.
And I remember having the risers, and I saw those in the conference room.
Yeah. Well, we had the risers out for the wrench, and then in front of the risers, we had those red velour couches that we got from the casino. So what do we got here? So we got enough guards on the right-hand side. Greg and his rink. Whoop. So we tried to overcompensate. He was waving them off. So you can see the player there delivered the stone. It's a little shaky.
Hold it maybe a little bit, but now it's going to throw into that pile.
Yeah, well, it looks like the player, his trailing leg was kicking around a bit, so he tried to correct it.
And his first shot was heavy. I think he went through the house, and so I think he was maybe trying to adjust on his weight as well. But then also in terms of looking for a plan B, great waved off the sweepers, which is fine. But also kind of looking to see where that rock could have ended up.
Yeah.
In this case, it ended up probably in one of the worst places because it knocked the guard, into the house, and it's not their rock.
No. Yeah, you don't need to help Bob out at all. So, in this particular case, that can be a learning opportunity for Greg. Maybe you keep the sweepers on it. So that you spread out the rocks on the center line. You don't have that much of a problem.
But also just in terms of the angle of how it hits.
Right.
And stuff.
Because it's not I don't know if I've ever seen a shot that couldn't do at least something better with it. You know, if you wanted to. So this here, so he's calling exit 8, which should be more than enough ice to get around that center line guard. Let's see if the skipper earns his supper tonight. It's nice that the teammates got the rock cold for him. You don't realize how much time that'll eat in a game if you got to go find your rock. And another, you know, for the newer curls that might be watching this, you know, at the end of the end, the only thing the lead should ever do is grab their stone and get in the hack. Arranging the rocks and collecting the rocks, it needs to be the seconds and thirds. That'll save you 6 minutes throughout a game easy.
Well, my thing, and I play lead, but I've also done backhand. It's like if you can count to 8, it doesn't really matter where what order the stones are in.
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
But there are some people who are particular about the order, and so in order to not stress them out, it's like, okay, like you can get the stones in order, but as a lead, I need to go as a skip. The skip should be getting back into the other house to be, you know, to put the broom down.
Right.
So as soon as whatever interval is up, at this level of competition, there's a minute. And actually, it's useful to have a minute.
Yes.
Because you were talking about strategy and like long-term objectives and stuff. Even during a game, you should have like a game goal and you should have an end goal.
Totally.
Like a per end goal.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And so just to use that minute to get everyone back on the same page, where it's like, hey, we gave up a bundle, but we're going to refocus. Like we're going to draw, or you know.
Yeah. Curling's one of those games where you have to have a short memory. You know, at the time. You got to be able to park it and say, okay, brush it off. Okay, we gave up 3, we gave up 2, whatever, and then try to just brush it off because the rocks don't know what's happening. You know, so
they're granite. They are almost beyond time in terms of just they're movable, immovable objects.
Right. Yeah, we don't know what just happened. So. You like the rock, just forget about it.
Yeah, at the same time, I mean, LeClair, again, is knocking at the door, sitting 3 in the house.
Yes. Yeah, and I think a couple of those were presents from the Utah guys. So he showed them the path, but there's still that wide out turn around that red stone left of the center. Greg was tight a couple times. Hopefully he will adjust.
Yeah.
And luckily, you know, Bob's, you know, I don't want to say all you got to do is hit the 4 foot, but all you got to do is be, you know, mid-8 or better,
So Team Basrak is taking a lot of ice. It looks like they would be enough to get over under the left center guard.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be enough to get into that pile.
I don't think so either. This is where maybe a little bit of a lazier handle, not as much rotation from Greg, might come into play and really make that rock swing once it passes the high guard. But he needs to sink this. They don't have the hammer.
Right. Or conversely, do like a angle raise on the top left guard that's there. It looks like it's curling.
It looks like they might be go through the port there if the sweepers stay on it.
The weight looks too light, I think. It's going. And it wrecked.
That's unfortunate. So this is going to be another draw for 5.
My goodness. Well, this also could be. Actually, the inside out, I don't think would be entirely applicable. Actually, they could do the inside out. Put the broom right on the button and just curl out to the wings. Yep. Because it just avoids the whole mess of guards entirely.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't come around the far right. That's maybe they thought they knew the ice. You know, they just saw Bob throw one down and said, "Oh, maybe let's just follow him down." But you know, had they done it perfectly, they were still going to hit that rock that's mid 12 foot on the top side. So let's see what Bob's trying to do here.
This is a chance for a fistful of points. I didn't see the handle, but it looks like it just based on where matching with the broom.
So all you got to do is just hit the 12 foot. Hit the 12 foot. It's around that guard.
It's around the guard.
Sure.
Just barely. Just needs to sit, and it looks like it's going to be there. Sit, sit, sit. And that is 5. So, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, this is a competition that can lead, well, will lead for the winner to a national. Oh, and it's handshakes. So the length of the game is 10 ends, although players can, and as we've seen here, have chosen to resign at any point. And it's fair. I mean, it's one of the nice things about the game is that if you feel the game is out of hand, to just say, hey, we concede.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, you don't have to prolong the agony, and this would be a good time for Greg and the team to go back either to the hotel, regroup, talk about sort of what they did well, what do they have to work on for the second game, and then come out tomorrow morning, fire.
Well, also, if this was a regular bond spiel or even a fun spiel, let's say, just to set the level of caliber of competition, it's like if you got blown out or you had a loss that maybe was out of hand. In a fun spiel, say, hey, we have the ice, might as well just practice and just kind of focus on some fundamentals and just kind of get a better feel for the ice.
Yes, no, that's a great point. I don't know if they're going to allow them to do it now, obviously, because it's a playdown situation. But for sure, I've been to a lot of bond spiels where that happens exactly. And the winning team, curlers are so gracious. Like Schuster, Tyler George, Darren Molding, Johnny Moe, all these guys. Like they would, if you just got your butt spanked by them and say, hey, would you mind showing me a couple things, they would be out there in a heartbeat. And that's just the beauty of the game.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately in this case, it just wasn't Basrak's night. But obviously LeClair looked to be in very, very solid form.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, it was a typical game for those guys. And really, hopefully, Greg and team learns a lot from tonight and has a really good, productive, positive team discussion. Absolutely.
And communication is so important in this game. I know, based on a certain Canadian skip letting go of a certain vice, talking about chemistry and just having a positive team dynamic. You don't have to be friends necessarily,
no,
but you have to understand each other's role and know how to get along within those roles.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. There's in some of the coaching I do, I try to get across the point of it's not about how can Daryl shoot 80% today. But maybe a better thing to do would be how could Daryl help Ryan be a good team? How can I be a better teammate today? What can I do to help you play better? So you take all that pressure off of yourself, trying to throw really good. You say, well, you know what? I'm going to help Ryan today. And then sometimes you'll find that by doing that, your game just goes up 20% because you don't have this inward focus. So yeah, you don't need to have chemistry. But you do need to, what's the word I'm trying for? You have to give yourself into, let's say you're typically a third, and something happens and the skip says, hey, for next game, can you play second? If it's for the greater good of the team, you do that. Like I'm thinking about maybe Pat Simmons and Johnny Moe a couple years ago, at the Briar. John wasn't doing very good, so he said, hey, we're going to lose if we keep this up. Parked his pride. Pat, you be the skip. And John did the best he could as the third, and they actually won a Briar. So you have to just kind of know your role, park the ego, try to know, it's really good, obviously the leads, the seconds, the thirds, and the skips, they all have, it's like being having a really good shortstop or a really good first baseman. Everybody has a key function, and as long as you can do that, the part of the coaching I say to people is for every shot and the 4 people on the team, you're only responsible for 25% of the outcome. You have to do that 25% at the absolute best of your ability.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how selfless the game can be.
Curling, I do love curling as one of the great team sports because it's not like baseball or football where you have like the star quarterback or the star pitcher.
Right.
It's like everyone has to throw their stone.
They have to pitch in,
and then so that's part of the 25%.
Yes.
And then the other 75% of the time you have to like see what you can do to help to help encourage your other teammates to function to the best of their ability.
Right. Now, in this particular case here, I see Lo out there throwing some real rocks, which is fabulous. You really got to be careful that you're out there practicing with purpose. And Greg may want to be, out in front of Lo to give him some pointers. Because if Lo, and again, I don't know what conversation happened prior to this, so maybe I could be way in the wrong here. But Lo should be trying to fix one thing right now, not trying to fix his whole game in 20 minutes. So hopefully it looks like he should try and get the weight down. I'm not sure, he must be front end, first or second, I would imagine.
I have it listed right here. Let's find out. Before we sign off for the night, would you mind giving another update on the scores?
No, let me go to that right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then also, I'll just say that tomorrow morning we're going to be back at 11:30 a.m. with on sheet A, Team Tate taking on Team Basrak. On sheet B, we got Raju taking on Siggins. Spangler taking on Mendoza on sheet C. And then the start of tonight's game, LeClair will be facing Fleming at 11:30 or so on sheet D. We are going to have live coverage throughout this entire Playdowns, including Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning, and possibly Sunday afternoon, depending on the nature of the tiebreakers. And as we mentioned at the top, this does result. The winner will secure a berth in the U.S. Club Nationals to be played. I don't think there's been official word yet, but it sounds like it's going to happen early next year in the Midwest. But we will, if we have confirmation, we'll be able to get more information to you on that.
Okay, so looks like it is still 3-1 on sheet A, Fleming up over Raju. Sheet B, it's 3-2. 3-2 for Mendoza over Tate. Obviously, shakes on C with LeClair being the victor. And then on sheet B, 5-3 for Siggins, and I guess they are just in the 6th now. So, all right, still a couple close games on the other adjacent sheets. So, for those you want to probably follow along on Bondspeeler for the rest of those scores.
We could also just turn off the cameras and just do audio play-by-play, like they used to do with radio, like curling on radio back in the day, where it's like they used to do talk about where the rocks were, like on a clock face and stuff. And
right.
So,
Okay, so we're gonna show Siggins' game now.
Someone just moved the camera over. I think this is an accident, but
that's perfect. That's perfect.
So just as a couple messages I have to get out of the way, live streaming of this and other regional competitions is powered by the 18 clubs and 1,500 members of the Mountain Pacific Curling Association. Our mission serves to grow curling and foster competition in Arizona, where we're at, California, Idaho, Nevada, Oregon, and Utah. Visit MoPacCA.org today to find a curling club near you or for help starting a club in your community.
Absolutely. Great message. Great message, yeah. You should be curling. If you're not yet, please get into it and, reach out to your local curling club and come out do a learn to curl. Most clubs will be offering some sort of program for, $15-20. You can come out, throw some stones with some good coaching from the local curling club. So.
And this is your chance to get ahead of the curve or the curl because the Winter Olympics are less than 2 months away. So if you take to learn to curl, you can say, hey, I know how this game works.
Yeah, it'll make watching the Olympics far more interesting. Yeah, and absolutely be ahead of the curve. Yeah, it's going to be crazy here in a few weeks or a couple months, I guess.
You might understand what an intern and an outturn are, which they never explain what they are on TV.
Right, right. Yeah, and being a lefty myself, I always get confused with the outturn intern. So it was always just turn the neck of the handle out toward the fingers, and then that's how I was taught.
Or clockwise, counterclockwise is the more the universal easy way to do it.
I actually did a learn to curl I don't know, a few months ago for some younger people, and so I was trying to show them, okay, so here's the rock, here's the handle, here's 12 o'clock, here's 3 o'clock, here's 6 o'clock, and they're like, what? And I'm like, because they're just used to just looking at the clock on their phone, right? So they didn't know what was going on. I'm like, oh boy, okay. So I felt really old. I'm like, okay, look up on the wall. That's what a clock looks like.
So I may as well just stay with this to the end of the ascent just to see what happens.
Yeah. It looks like they're trying to go for a blank here with those rocks throws on like that. A nice 7-second. 7-second hog-to-hog peel will clear both of those and lose the shooter. With it being as close as it is, I would imagine that would be the play.
Well, they have plenty of time just looking at their clocks. So this will also help them take a little bit more time at the end. Yeah. And there they both go.
Perfect. There's a biter. Okay, and this is the team from Wine Country, right? Another Northern Cal team.
Yeah.
Good to see those guys. Thanks for coming down.
Arena ice. So there's two arena ice teams. You have Wine Country and Park City.
Right. Yeah, right. Because Raju's from Tahoe, and that's dedicated with the 2 cheaters.
Yes. And then Hollywood is now on dedicated ice.
Right. Yeah, it'll be exciting in the MoPac region in the next 2-3 years. As these clubs get a little bit more busy and maybe some more travel around the region, we get a few more dedicated curling facilities. Like MoPac's always done really well, even when we were just all arena. When we would go to Exmoor or when we would go to Utica or whatever, we always did well because we were always traveling to try to be as good as we can be. But now that we don't have to fly 5 hours to get dedicated ice, and we can play in these types of events at a higher level, I would put money on MoPac being a real strong force in probably the next 5 years.
I think it's also just a factor of rising ships because I mean tip of the hat to Cielo Granite. They were kind of the keystone of curling in the West for such a long time.
Right.
And I think any curler of note on the West Coast has been through Seattle at least a couple times. And just to help grow the game, to have these facilities, because also outside of MoPac we have the Central America, I forget what it's called, NCAT or whatever.
Right.
Midwest.
Midwest region, yeah.
Because Denver has 2 dedicated ice clubs now, which is just astonishing. Austin has dedicated ice.
Yes, yeah. There'll be no shortage of dedicated curling clubs in the near future. It's good to see the growth, and this growth has really been in the last, last decade, I suppose. And more to come. I know there's a lot of clubs out there working on it and trying to save their pennies and get a business plan. From the MoPac perspective, now that I'm the Western Regional Rep for the USCA, I'm working on a plan to get a kind of a how-to book finally made, where we can go into new markets or markets that are emerging and say, okay, here's your business plan, here's the model, here's a couple drawings on what we're going to look at. So that, I was just talking to Greg actually from Park City. There's a great opportunity to maybe go grow some dedicated ice there, which would help obviously Ogden, help out Salt Lake. We're going to try to maybe mine that. Boise's another one that's be right for the McCall Club. So there's lots of great little diamonds out there that will be emerging in the future. Great job by Hillman.
And the other thing about dedicated ice is that I always kind of have these fantasies where, like you have like an NFL owner just like build a curling center next to the new stadium because a $5 million curling center next to a $2 billion football stadium it's a rounding error. But instead of those flights of fancy, it just takes a lot of hard work from a lot of dedicated people to make dedicated ice happen.
Well, in the end, it needs about 10 people, 10 to 15 people to make that happen. And certainly it would be nice to get an angel to come in and give you $1 million. I think if the U.S. obviously the really good thing about John and team winning the gold a couple years back is that it put the U.S. curling really on the map. And now they're going back again as the defending champs. So that's just going to be a Cinderella story. The media's just going to love it. And anytime you can get the U.S. curling program on TV, we're not too far behind. Maybe getting some maybe not NFL money, but maybe Major League Baseball money, or maybe some hockey rinks, maybe the NHL.
That's a nice shot. Yeah.
Nice shot.
And then also, just in terms of like being in the public consciousness, it's just fascinating to see how it's become more
mainstream.
More mainstream. Just like they have the NBC has an Olympics promo, and they have like that half second of Schuster celebrating.
Right.
And it's like 20 years ago, you would not see anything like that.
No, absolutely.
And also talking about Schuster, it's like this is his 5th Olympics.
Yes.
It's incredibly. It's a strong testament to his ability and skill, just to be able to go to 5 Olympics.
Absolutely.
And also just to withstand 5 Olympics, because he did win the bronze the first time out as lead. Yeah. And then he had two rough goes, 3 rough goes.
Yep. Yeah. Well, he's the whole program, but John specifically has really grown in the last decade. So he's certainly the wily veteran.
Yeah.
And Chris Blythe, with Tyler retiring, he's got a couple good teammates, and obviously Hammy will be able to be sort of the spark plug of the team. Steiner just quietly just throws out his guards.
And he leads have to keep time, and so he stays on task.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he's just kind of like the drummer. He's the Ringo.
Yes.
You don't want to necessarily hear him sing. No offense to Ringo or John Lansdowner's singing ability, but you just want him to keep the tempo.
Yeah, and that's a perfect job for Steiner, because he just has the mentality. He loves it.
Yeah.
So again, everybody's playing the position on their team, right? Like Hamilton's the spark plug. Steiner with the stats. Plies is a really good influence on John. He's got the ability to kind of help John out when he needs it. And they have a really good, you pointed back here earlier, some chemistry out on the ice, and they just actually won. Persinger and him won the mix today, right?
They secured Team USA's berth for mixed doubles at the Beijing Olympics.
Perfect.
And they went undefeated through the entire event, and they faced one of the top squads, I would say, in Russia, although Russia's maybe not necessarily best known for their mixed doubles.
True.
But they got a bronze medal last time.
True, yeah. Can we say Russia yet, or is it still RCF?
They're Russia again.
Okay, they're Russia again. So that's over then, okay.
But yeah, Persinger implies just a solid performance, and it was just kind of nerve-wracking just to say it's like this is for a ticket to the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they persevere.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's no easy task. And it's good when you got that momentum.
Yes.
When they won the first one, they're like, whew. Now they're 3-0. Like, things are getting a little bit better. It's easy when you're undefeated to maybe take your foot off the gas in that last game. But good on them for sticking with it. And still, America's the only team that allows you to play in both disciplines. So they're going to have some. Well, Vicky won, I guess. But
I think Bruce Mowat might have something to say about that.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, he had
Team GB.
He won too, right?
Yeah.
With, what's her name?
I forget her name. But just also revisiting Schuster, just also his perseverance, his being able to keep his head up high even when Team USA was finishing 10th or 11th in the bottom of the Olympic standings. And then just to be able to be secure his ticket back. And then the first thing he does when he's shaking hands with Corey Dropkin is like just complimenting him, saying, you made us work the hardest we've ever had to work for this.
Absolutely, yeah. Corey and the young guns, they're going to be hot on their trail for sure. And I think it was a classy move, for John and the team to invite Colin Huffman over, to play with them. Because Colin, he's paid his dues. He's been around this for a long time.
He also sweeps like a demon.
He does. He does. He does. Yeah. So there may be some, obviously it was a classic move, by John. But I'm sure, John's a good, strategist. So he's probably thinking, okay, let's, in game 3, when maybe, Steiner or somebody's, a little gas, let's pull out Colin and we'll just melt that ice. Yeah.
I mean, also, like, I think they play two draws a day.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot.
That is, especially in a bubble, being in Beijing, everything's going to be different. It's like, you travel on business and you're not sleeping in your own bed, you're not eating your own food. And that takes a toll on you, especially, when you're away from your family and your creature comforts. It's tough. So having that fifth player there to step in when need be takes a lot of pressure off the team. Sure.
Well, I think they did blank this end. If not, it was maybe just a single play.
No, I think they did. Yeah, I saw. I think it was maybe Mike's last one. He cleared it out, and the couple of nibblers they had, the flobs on the outside. There's a swear word you say that it's a lousy outside biter. You can use call it F however you want, I suppose. But it was a nice blank. These guys are playing a nice tight game and not giving up very much.
So I think we're going to have to leave it there because we're not necessarily in a position to start moving cameras around.
Sure, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But I definitely appreciated you joining us, and hopefully you'll come back.
I will, I will.
Like I said, we're going to be broadcasting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. This game is going to be Friday at 11:30-ish.
11:30-ish. Okay, I'll be here for the second one, the afternoon game.
Yes, I think we have a special guest in the morning. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. All right, we'll have fun with that person.
Indeed.
Yeah, you have to tune in to see who it is.
So on that note, just a friendly reminder that this broadcast is presented by the authority of the Mountain Pacific Curling Association. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the Mountain Pacific Curling Association or the Commissioner of Major League Baseball. I don't know how he got in there, but
it's an elite group.
But thank you for joining us, and it was fun tonight.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, a lot of fun. Enjoy it.
And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We're going to be back tomorrow morning with more great curling here from Coyotes Curling Club, the 2022 MoPac Men's Club Playdowns.
Good curling.
And so until then, this has been Ryan, and he's been
Darryl Horseman.
Good night and good curling.